Thank you for being with us. My name is Kelsey Forey, and I work at your Alumni Association. I'm the Alumni Education Programs Director, and I work on all the educational opportunities you may have taken advantage of while you're at Reunion, and I also work on Think ND and the Hesburgh Lecture Series, if you've seen those in your community. Today, you are in for a treat, and she's standing right over here. You're going to spend the next hour with Dr. Megan Brown, who is the director for the McDonald Center for Wellbeing here on campus. It's also affectionately known as McWell. In addition to her many years of caring for students at McWell, she's also worked as a staff psychologist at the University Counseling Center here on campus. If you're holding a little green ball in your hand that says UCC, that's University Counseling Center. Dr. Brown is passionate about helping students thrive, and she's going to come and share some of that passion with us today. She's an avid student of positive psychology, and that's the scientific study of flourishing lives, communities, and organizations. And she believes that everyone can be a world changer. Everyone is a world changer, and that when we're living our best lives, we make the world a better place, and we inspire others to do the same. And I think you'll all agree that that's a big part of what our mission is here at Notre Dame. She's living it out with us. So, Dr. Brown.
Thank you. So before we get started, what were some of the things that you heard? Just call it out. What were some of the things that people shared with you that they were grateful for today? Beautiful day. Isn't it great that it's not raining on Alumni Weekend?
Seeing friends.
Seeing friends. So precious. Yes. What else? Help? Health. Yes. Oh, such a big one. Others? Being at Notre Dame, and thank you for being here. Yes.
Coming from where we live, this greenery is beautiful.
Oh, the greenery. That doesn't exist everywhere, especially when it's starting to get hot like this. Anything else? So, imagine for a moment that there was a pill that you could take that could increase your happiness, improve relationships, that it decreased pain and your risk of disease, and decreased anxiety and depression, and it was all natural. You didn't have to worry about side effects, and it was totally free. Would you take it? Please raise your hand if you would. Well, you just did. Practicing gratitude has been shown in scientific studies to do just that. The work of Robert Emmons and many others over the decades repeatedly has shown that many of us, when we cultivate gratitude, and I say that intentionally because it is a skill, it's something we can all get better at, that we can have so much improved health and well-being. And some of the studies even say that other people notice that when we are practicing gratitude, they see it in us because we become more socially aware and engaging with others. So you have just practiced taking a pill that was totally free pill that can help you improve. But there's so many things that can help us. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I have one of the coolest jobs on campus. In being working at the McDonald Center for Student Wellbeing, one of the things I am so grateful for is that this institution is committed and invested in the health and well-being of our students. And I'm grateful for alums. Mark Gaglio is one of those who, did I say it right? Glogli, who donated money so that we could exist and help students the way we do. Yes. And our name is our beloved Father Jim McDonald is an alum also who really represents to us so many of the ways that we can care for each other. And so I'm just really grateful that I have that opportunity. And I'm going to be sharing with you some of the things that we teach our students, because that is what is needed here. Some of the skills of well-being are not easy. They may be simple, but they're not easy. So it takes practice. And probably when you were a student here, you didn't have stress. I know, no stress at all. But our students today, increasingly, when I was a staff psychologist at the counseling center, we had a decent load of clients over the years, and annually we started seeing more and more and more clients every single year. Part of that's a good thing, that more people are interested and willing to use counseling and therapy, but there was something else going on as well. And then COVID made it even worse. Nationwide, we have an issue. And so we can't just do counseling. We also need to make an environment that is filled with health, so that the healthy choice is the easy choice. And we also need a community that is caring for each other. And that is the beauty of my job. We like to talk about restoration being play, pray, and pause. But we also like to talk about stress management as walk, talk, and breathe. Okay? Actually, why don't we do it together? Say it with me. Walk, talk, and breathe. And let's do it together. Okay. So walk, talk, and breathe, or play, pray, and pause. There's a lot of interconnection between those two. The play part is really that letting go of the things, the everyday things, and being able to connect with our creativity, move our bodies. And that's what walk is like as well. We need to move, we need to interact. And then there's prayer, or the other parallel is connection. So the talking part. It is such an important part of our well-being to connect with, whether it is a heavenly being or with each other or even ourselves. And then the pause or breathe. We don't do that enough. We don't pause. And that is what we need to practice in order to be able to be at our best and be a force for good in the world. So that is what we're not just going to talk about it, we are going to practice it today in here. And I can't wait to do it with you. So the reality is there's a lot of good we're celebrating, but there's also a lot of hard stuff. And there's no such thing as a good life without the hard stuff. So we are going to do a little activity. I'd like you to take a piece of paper and your Sharpie. I'd like you to write on one of the sheets of paper your biggest stressor right now. What is the biggest stressor that you have? Just use a one word or a couple of words, but just write down what is your biggest stressor right now. And then right beside it, write one word about how this stressor makes you feel. And don't just write stressed. okay? And if you'd like to participate in the rest, what I'd like you to do is crumple up that piece of paper. Crumple, 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 really, really tight. The tighter, the better. And what you're going to do is you're going to throw it, grab another one and throw it again, and grab another one and throw it again. I want you to do that at least 2 or 3 times, as far as you can, but you will end up with one that is different than yours, hopefully, at the end. So ready? Crumple. Has everyone got theirs crumpled? Yeah, throw, woo! Grab another one, grab another one. There you go. Throw it again. Okay, grab one. It's a little hard to. Okay, everyone grab one. And I'd like you to get in a little group close to you. Get in a little group close to you. They're still throwing. You enjoyed playing for a moment there, didn't you? We need some more over here. Any more over there? Throw it over. And if everyone doesn't have one, that's okay. I want you to open it up and get in a little group, 3, 4 people, and read what is on it. And then I'd like you to notice what you notice, okay? So, pardon, there's nothing on it? Then just get in a little group. If you don't have anything on your paper, just get in a little group and read what's on it. Oh, you're okay. You're welcome. Okay, what do you notice? What do you notice? What do you notice after reading all of them? Hi. Is there anyone sitting here?
Everybody's got something.
Okay. What do you notice from the few that you read? Okay, share that in your group if you haven't yet. What do you notice? Can you share with the larger group? What are some of the things that you noticed as you read all 3?
All the stressors cause the same feelings.
All the stressors cause the same feelings. Yeah. Notice anything else?
Ours were all future focused.
Future focus? Okay. That's fine. Anything else that you notice?
Ours were all about familial relationships.
Familial? Okay. So family, yes.
Mine's not so bad after all.
Okay. Great. Okay. Here's the thing. Oh, yes, somebody else. Work has a serious downside? Yes. Yeah, a lot of work things.
If they speak quietly, could you repeat what they said?
Yes, work has a serious downside. Yeah.
We had
there's 4 of us, and 2 of them were worried about the same thing.
Okay, so there were some similarities in there as well. Thank you all for sharing. Thank you for your willingness to write something down and share it. Almost everybody in the room had something to put down, okay? And one of the issues that our students have is they think that they're the only one. And maybe here today, we have lots of smiles. We're here for wonderful reasons. There may be great memories. But there are people in this room who are also holding a lot of pain, who may be suffering right now. But we don't see that. But taking the time to actually lean in and acknowledge our pain and suffering while holding the joy, the gratitude that we talked about at the same time, this is psychological resilience. Being able to acknowledge that, yes, we have things that we're grateful for, but also there are things that we're struggling with is a well-being practice. The people who are most healthy are able to acknowledge both, not denying one or the other. The other piece is that you shared it. You may have shared it anonymously, but you shared it with somebody else. And that is something hard for our students to do when they think that they're the only one. But we do this kind of activity with our students to let them know they aren't the only one. So it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to ask for help about it, with it. And this is something, too, that I encourage you to be aware of. Are you keeping it inside, or are you letting others know? Because they're probably going through something, too. So I'd like you now to take this sheet of paper. We don't know who this person is in the room. But we've done a little play, and we've talked. Now, I'd like us to have a little time to think about whoever this person might be. And whatever you're comfortable with, if you want to put the paper on your heart, or if you want to just hold it in your hands. But I'd like to lead you through a little activity as we think about this person who is suffering in some way right now. You can close your eyes and know that this person is here in the room. And repeat in your mind these words. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe in body, mind, and spirit. And may you have peace. For this person in this room right now, may you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe in body, mind, and spirit. And may you have peace. And take a deep breath in. And one last time for this person, may you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe in body, mind, and spirit. And may you have peace. And take one more deep breath. What was that like for you? Anybody want to share? Calming. It was good. Peaceful. Thank you. Restorative. Relieving. How does it feel to know that you were just prayed for? So what we just did, is this on? What we just did is we did a very simple loving kindness meditation, which is very, very similar to prayer for somebody that we don't even know. The research on loving kindness meditation and prayer is amazing. We know that loving kindness meditation, that kind of giving of loving kindness thoughts and wishes to another person actually changes the brain. People who do this, they've done this study with elderly people who are lonely. They actually feel less lonely after practicing this. And prayer, prayer is such a valuable tool. We see it as a relationship with the divine, but there are some amazing benefits. One group of researchers looked at prayer and how it impacted cancer patients. They wanted to see, how does prayer impact their well-being, or does it impact their well-being? And they asked cancer patients to write their prayers out. And then they analyzed it, and they looked at the different well-being instruments. And they found something really fascinating. They saw a difference. They saw people praying for themselves. Yeah, like duh, yeah, you're gonna pray for yourself if you have cancer. But they also noticed that some people prayed for others. I wanna read one of those prayers actually from this study. So this is a 68-year-old woman with stage 3 ovarian cancer, and she offered the following prayer. I ask your mercy for the other patients who are part of the research study I am in. I do not know their names or their faces, but you do. Keep them surrounded by your mantle of love. Show them your compassion. If side effects are discouraging them, please place your hand on them and alleviate their suffering. May this study lead the research people to valuable conclusions, and may we all benefit from this knowledge. I pray that their eyes be opened even more toward a cure or knowledge to greatly help those suffering from this disease. Isn't that a beautiful prayer? So the researchers were interested whether prayer would help patients in treatment. And what they found is that the prayer in general didn't necessarily help well-being. But when people included prayers for others, what you just did, they found, so others being the doctors and the other patients and their loved ones, that prayer lowered depression and increased the perceived support they felt from others in their lives, like family and doctors. So the more they prayed for others, the more they perceived support available. So the difference is compassion for other people. And bringing that, when we are suffering, if we can have compassion and think about others, it actually helps us. At a university like Notre Dame, where caring for other people is core to our mission, this is something we emphasize with students a lot. And I know that you as alums and family and friends of alums bring that wherever you go. I encourage you to continue doing that because it's not only helping others, it's helping you too. Okay, so we've got another. So we paused, we prayed, and now we are going to do another exercise. You need your other sheet of paper. If you don't have a sheet of paper, again, if you could tear it and share with somebody else, or use a crumpled one, that's okay too. So we are going to pause again, and I'm going to ask you some questions, and I just want you to write very quickly some thoughts. You won't be sharing this with anyone else, okay? So think about a friend who is having a difficult time and feeling badly about themselves. How do you respond to that friend? What do you say? What kinds of things do you do for that friend who is suffering? Jot down, just very quickly, your words, actions. Now I want you to think about a time when you have struggled with yourself, maybe with something that you don't like about yourself. How did you treat yourself? Please write down, just jot down some of the things you said to yourself, did for yourself or to yourself. The question is, did you notice a difference? I'm seeing lots of head nods. That means you're normal. But normal doesn't always mean that it is the best for us. Why do we do something different for our friends than we do for ourselves? How might our lives be different if we treated ourselves like we did our best friend? Yes.
So one of the struggles that I find in this situation is when I'm struggling, I'm caught up in the back of your brain and you're just reacting and you're spinning around. Whereas when someone else comes to you, you've had it.
You're separated from it.
To think with the front of your brain.
Yeah.
Know?
Yes.
So how do you get to the front of your brain to help yourself?
Ooh, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. Ooh, that's good. We do this exercise with students to show them the difference. And it is important to notice the difference because we know that when we practice self-compassion or self-forgiveness, we're actually more productive. We feel better, which is really important, but that also leads us to do better. We are thinking with the front of our brains, as was said here, and we make better choices. And that is worth doing. Sometimes these high-achieving students think that, I need to beat myself up in order to do better. And the research it says no. It really means that we actually cannot progress as well if we are not compassionate and self-forgiving. One of my favorite, yes, go ahead.
Like my friends, we just mess with each other. That's what every best friend, I feel like. So you kind of mess with each other, but then you still compliment each other.
That happens, yes. We can mess with each other, but we are also knowing when we're messing with each other, right? Yes.
This kind of ties to what you were saying before. When you care for others, you're out of yourself. But when you're feeling badly, you don't care for yourself.
Yes. And this is something that we can get better at. And I want to give an illustration as to why. One of my favorite studies is they asked people who were dieting to sit in front of a big, fat piece of cheese factory cake. That's cruelty. I hope they've outlawed those kind of studies. But this is what they did. And one of the groups, they asked, think about how bad you will feel about yourself if you eat this cake. Okay? That's what they needed to do before they entered and while they were sitting there. And then the other group, they asked, think about how good you will feel about yourself if you don't eat this cake. And the other group didn't have any prompt. That was the control group. That's the group I would want to be in. And what they found, well, what they were looking for was who would resist eating the cake. So the group that shamed themselves into thinking how bad they will feel if they eat the cake, only 10% resisted eating the cake. The group who thought how proud they would feel if they resisted eating the cake, 40% resisted. And the control group was almost 19%. Okay? How we talk to ourselves matters. We make better decisions from our frontal lobes if we talk to ourselves like we do a friend. But it takes practice to do that. One of my favorite quotes from a Christian author, Paul Tripp, no one is more influential in your life than you are because no one talks to you more than you do. So self-compassion is a practice that we can get better at. And just being, you've actually done a number of things today that can help because there's 3 parts to self-compassion. There's noticing, okay, you have to notice that there is some suffering. Then you need to acknowledge that this is part of being human. Others are experiencing this too, and that's what we did in our tossing exercise. Others are experiencing suffering too. And then the third is to be kind to yourself. And that, all 3 of those help us to have more self-compassion and actually help us to do the very things that we want to do. When we're suffering, we try to avoid pain even more, and we do more of the things, like eating the cake, to quell the suffering. So instead, we are kind to ourselves. But how do we practice that? How do we acknowledge the things that are important to us and be kind to ourselves? We're going to do another exercise. It's time for your stress ball from the University Counseling Center. And you'll need your Sharpie. Yes, you're going to write on it. I want you to think about who or what is important to you, and then using one word or a couple of words to represent what that is, write those things on the stress ball. So for me, it's going to be family, or you could put an actual name on there. You can just write as many. Some of you are going to have a whole lot and not be able to stop, and some of you are going to just have a few, and that's okay. But write down who or what is important to you. And I'm just going to give you a minute to do that. and you'll get to keep this, so if you're not finished, that's okay. But I'd like you to pick one of them and turn to a neighbor and share what it is and why that is important to you. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to share one thing that you wrote down that is important to you and why. Thank you for participating. And if you haven't switched, please switch and make sure your partner gets to share one thing, who or what is important to you and why. Thank you, everybody, for sharing with each other. I want to tell you what you just did and why it's valuable. So in the 1990s, some researchers at Stanford asked some students to write about who or what is important to them over the winter or Christmas break. And then they had a control group that was writing about what happened to them. And when they came back to school in January, they collected their journals and they did lots of different tests. And they observed that the students who wrote about who or what was important to them actually felt less stressed and had fewer illnesses. And that the effect was greatest for those who had the most stress. These types of studies have been replicated repeatedly. And we now know that reflecting on our values is the most effective psychological strategy we know, particularly for those in transition and under stress. Just reflecting on our values, who or what is important, has a whole long list of long-term and short-term benefits. In the short term, it increases sense of self-control, feelings of love, increases pain tolerance, enhances self-control, and reduces unhelpful rumination. In the long term, it boosts grades. Did you hear that? It boosts grades. Reduces, and this is long-term, reduces doctor visits, improves mental health, helps with weight loss, quitting smoking, reducing problem drinking, increases perseverance in the face of discrimination, and reduces self-sabotaging behaviors. Some of the experiments were done with people had a little wristband with their values written on it, or they had a keychain with their values, and in moments of stress, they would look at it. And that found a significant impact on people who practice that. I know researchers in this field who actually don't get out of bed in the morning without reflecting on their values before they get out of bed. That's how much they believe in what they're studying. You now have a stress ball reminding you of your stress, but also not just to squeeze and throw at people, but also with your values to look at whenever you feel that need. And this is a strategy that, again, we use with our students, particularly those who are arriving at the university during that transition time. Honing in on our values makes a difference. It strengthens us. Actually, I'm going to read this quote because I just think it's so cool. Writing about values is one of the most effective psychological interventions ever studied. When you reflect on your values, the story you tell yourself about stress shifts. You see yourself as strong and able to grow from adversity. You become more likely to approach challenges than to avoid them. And you are better able to see the meaning in difficult circumstances. It's a quote by Kelly McGonigal, who's at Stanford. This is another pill, another free pill that we can take that can help us be well and do well. I think, Kelsey, I think I'm going to go ahead and do the other exercise. Would that be okay? So we're going to just do one more exercise, and then we'll have time for questions and comments. But this goes to how do we get out of that space in our brain that just keeps us in that fight or flight mode for stress, okay? And I'd like, if you're willing, I'd like to invite you to practice a tool called anchoring. But you need to have a little bit of suffering to do this, okay? So it goes back to our first activity where you thought about what is your biggest stressor right now. So I want you to think about that. And where do you feel the anxiety in your body right now? Can you notice that? Okay. Whatever it makes you feel, where do you notice it? You can touch wherever you feel that you notice it. Okay. Now, what I'd like you to do is press your feet into the floor. Some of us can't reach the floor, that's okay. But press your feet into the floor and notice how that feels, how the bottom of your feet, how your calves may feel. And I want you to remember how that anxiety feels in your body as well. Now I want you to press your hands together. And notice the tension on your fingers and your arms. And press your feet into the floor. And also notice the anxiety wherever it is. Now I want you to look around the room and notice 5 things that you can see. And I want you to notice your hands pressed together, your feet in the floor, and that anxiety wherever it is in your body. Now I want you to notice 3 things that you can hear. And my voice may be one of them. And notice your hands pressed together, your feet in the floor. And now notice that you are at Notre Dame, that you are in Indiana, that you are in the United States, on a globe. and let your body go. And take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. What did you notice?
There weren't a lot of things to hear.
There were a lot of things to hear. We were really quiet, weren't we? What did you notice?
It made me feel less stressed.
It made you feel less stressed. It's great noticing. Yes, at the back?
Because I attended to one or more things other than where I felt the original stress. I noticed the original stress less and less.
It lessened. And some people think that is because, oh, I was distracted. Actually, it's not. Here's a model of the brain. Okay, just pretend that this is the brain. This is the prefrontal cortex where we make our important decisions, where our values are. Actually, I didn't put my thumb inside because inside is the amygdala, where the limbic system is, and the amygdala is the alarm system of the brain. So when we are stressed, when we are in that flight mode, this is firing. And what happens when the amygdala is firing, it turns off the prefrontal cortex, the part of us that makes us most human. So how do we stop this from firing and get our prefrontal cortex back online? We pay attention to our 5 senses. That calms the amygdala. And that brings the prefrontal cortex back online so we can make better decisions and be kind to ourselves. The anchoring exercise that you just did, it's not about getting away from our bad feelings. As humans, we want to get away from it. We don't want to feel those things. But in fact, it's leaning in and noticing those feelings and paying attention to things in our 5 senses that can actually help our brains to work more effectively and make those wise choices. And this is an exercise you can do anywhere, feeling your hands or your feet, listening for what's happening around you. Such a simple, free pill. But it takes a moment of pause, doesn't it? It takes us being able to notice what's going on. Pausing is a skill, but we can all get better at it. So whether it is play, pray, or pause, or walk, talk, and breathe, these are some of the things, the simplest, easy things that we can do to make our lives better and to make a difference in the world. And as Kelsey introduced, you are all world changers. You all are a force for good in the world. It's important that we take care of ourselves so that we can take care of each other. And that's what makes the world a better place. And I am so jazzed that we, as a community, we are Notre Dame, that we get to do that together. So thank you for all that you are doing and have done. And thank you for supporting this wonderful university and our students. And keep taking good care of yourselves. And I look forward to connecting with you again when you come back to Alumni Weekend. Still have time for questions? Yes. Any questions? Yes.
Do you have any recommendations for applying some of these things, like parenting-wise, or help kids kind of think about and apply some of these things?
Oh,
obviously, we can all work on it as adults, but as I'm thinking about parenting,
yeah. So somebody asked about parenting and using this with children. Absolutely, and they do it in schools as well. Just building in times to pause and notice. The skill of noticing is something that we can really build upon. So I'm actually going to encourage you, when you are around today, take time to notice, what can you hear? What do you smell? And getting kids to use their senses, you know, when they're crying, it's like, you know, where do you feel that in your body? Noticing anything in the 5 senses is going to help us to have that prefrontal cortex working, and we can build it into every part of our lives. I like to do it in the shower and smell my soap and feel the hot water, and know that I am strengthening my brain just by paying attention. Instead of thinking about all the things that I need to do, I'm paying attention to my 5 senses. So build it in anywhere.
Sensory stuff.
Sensory stuff, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Other questions? Yes.
Jump on the mic so we can hear you.
The cake was free. The cake was free. That's what made it even harder on them. Yes. Any other questions or comments? Yes, at the back, yellow hat.
For you right there.
Talk really loud and I'll repeat your question.
You liken self-compassion and its effect on you, which somehow is an effective relaxer, we'll say, for someone else.
We're thinking about somebody, so the question is about self-compassion being a relaxer on us, but being a help to somebody else. Self-compassion is directed, well, compassion is directed to us, and that's self-compassion. When we direct compassion towards others, there's a benefit for us. Is that clear?
Is there a benefit for the other person? Is there a benefit?
When we are compassionate, we actually mobilize ourselves to be able to help others. So if we are suffering in our own pain, we actually go inwards, right? So if we have more compassion for ourselves, we are more likely to help other people as well. But it's a two-way. Whatever you do, when you reach out and help somebody else, you are helped as well. So there's a two-way direction when it comes to compassion and self-compassion. We all benefit.
So how is that like prayer? Can it be made to be like prayer through some particular exercise?
So I don't know all the studies around prayer in particular. I think it's the little that I know is that we can't really say that us praying for somebody actually does something else to another person, but what we do know that it changes us. And when we are different, we are more likely to do good things. We behave differently. As a believer, I think that it allows God to use us more when we pray. It's not necessarily about something, it depends on different beliefs, but prayer can mobilize us to do more things and make a difference in the world. Any other questions?
I have a question about your status in life versus being a youth versus an elderly person. When you're facing the end of your life on earth, how do you reconcile that with everything that you've done in the past and think about the future?
Wow. Is that a personal question or? Generally, compared to when you're a young person and a mature or older person and reflecting on all the things that you've done in your life, say that again, how do you stop worrying about what you did in the past and think a little bit more positively about the future? How do you think less about what you've done in the past and
think about.
Think about the future and not be afraid for
Yeah.
the future.
Yeah.
It's a really valuable question, something that we will all face. It really is about gratitude as well as self-forgiveness. We all have things that we're grateful for in our past, and to be able to think about those things and reflect on those things is really important. As humans, we have a negativity bias. We tend to remember the negative more than the positive. And that can be detrimental to our well-being. But if we can intentionally reflect on the good, it can actually help us. But it doesn't mean ignoring the bad. And being able to make amends and forgive ourselves and others helps prepare us for whatever the future is, so that we can go into the future with peace. And those values, holding on to those who are what is important and making those central to our lives, gives us that anchor to go into the future and all the strength that comes with it. Thank you for a great question. Yes.
Okay. I was just reflecting on this activity that we did, where we're talking about sort of how we speak to ourselves, and we did something to admonish ourselves, where we, with a friend, give them very positive, I'm here for you, I'm here if you need to talk. But as a parent, I'm kind of thinking about those tough love situations where you are having a conversation with your kid about maybe something that they didn't do right or wrong. How do you balance that? Is that effective to have that tough conversation with them? Because now I'm questioning everything.
Such a great question. So, how do you balance compassion and tough love in parenting? This is really. So, as a psychologist with two kids, a 17, almost 18-year-old, and a 10-year-old, almost 11-year-old, I struggle with this, even though I teach this stuff all the time. So, full disclosure. Compassion doesn't mean that we're ignoring reality. Okay? Compassion means kindness, but it also means acknowledging reality. So just like we talked about holding two things at the same time, this is what our kids need. They need the love and compassion. They need us to remember that they are kids, that we have made these same mistakes, and for us to think, how would I have wanted to be treated when I was that age? They need that, but they need the reality of this is a mistake. But they also need to know how much they're loved and cherished. And that is the formula for people to make better choices. It's hard. It's hard. But I think God gave us kids so that we could learn and learn to do this for them and for ourselves as well. Awesome questions.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes. As we close our program, we'd like to remind you to use the QR code up there to complete a feedback survey if you've enjoyed the workshop or if you didn't, but imagine you did. Because we really do value your feedback. And we want to thank you very much for spending time with us today. We want to thank all the folks at McKenna Hall who made it possible for us to enjoy today's workshop in this beautiful space here on campus. And of course, a very special thanks to Dr. Megan Brown for sharing her expertise and passion for well-being with us.